Welcome back, guys. So, in the previous episodes, we saw what are the problems with out-of-box reporting from Microsoft for Office 365 Copilot consumption reports. Not really good. We saw what we could do, with the help of audit logs to really customize the reports to the best of our needs. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please have a look at the links above. Now, in this session, we will first look at how to go about revoking the licenses, how to identify the users who are not really using Copilot that well that much, and then take out their licenses. Maybe you would like to give it to somebody more deserving in that case. So, in the first session, we will see what output we require, in terms of data to capture this. And second part of the video, we will see the actual source code that was written to generate that outputs. Let's get started. So for a revoke process, I want the information to be something like this. I have the email address of the individual user, how many times in a given time frame he or she accessed Copilot, when the license was provided. This is very important because imagine a case where you come up with the algorithm of saying, "Well, anyone who has accessed Copilot less than 20 times in the last 3 months, we are going to revoke her or her license." Now, from the audit files, when you download the log for last 3 months, you know, it could be that a user only got the license yesterday. So we cannot expect him or her to complete that quota of minimum consumption in 2 days, right? So we need really the number of days when the license was provided. So if the license is more than number of days since the license provided is more than 90 days and the count is less than 30, remove that user, for example. The second problem over here is how to figure it out because in audit, we do not have the licensing information. And also we need some kind of an timer job to generate these files on quarterly basis. And that timer job should be intelligent enough to figure out that if a user has the license, only then add the user over here. Because there is no point adding the user if they do not have the license. And in our audit information file, the logs, it doesn't matter if the license is there or not. It shows us all the content. So for this magic, we need to dwell upon a timer job. This is what we are looking for. You can take this up, maybe do a bit of filtering. Greater than 90 days and less than 30, you get the sum of the users who are not meeting the minimum consumption limit. Send it to your IT team and ask them to remove the users from the Active Directory group itself.
At the heart of the architecture stands an app Azure App Service, which contains some C Sharp code. This C Sharp code reads from the environment variables the SharePoint location where audit file as well as licensing info file will be kept. It will also read a property called app host. The idea over here being that I only need to count the consumptions for Copilot that is being executed from Teams, Outlook, Excels, etc. I really don't care about Copilot for security or Copilot for GitHub because those are different licenses. And the problem here is that Microsoft is putting all the Copilot execution into one category within audit files, which is interacted with Copilot. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, please have a look at the previous sessions and where I'm talking about this property in much detail. Once I have read the consumption, the last thing to do, of course, is to send an email address to whosoever is concerned with removing the licenses. Another trick on this process could be that rather than storing and uploading licensing information file every time to SharePoint, your code can directly make a call to Microsoft Entra and get the licensing information in real time. It's much more better than managing the files. A licensing information file from Active Directory could look like something like this. You have email address and then you have when the license was provided to that user. Pretty straightforward, right? Um, and once we have this information, we upload it to SharePoint. We download that file via C Sharp, and then all is left is to calculate this date, match it with the email address as we read from audit file, and also calculate how many days since the license was provided. It's a CSV file. The source code for the script is uploaded to GitHub. But please note that I have removed a large part of the code because of confidentiality purposes. So it does compile, but I'm not sure that it will work the first time when you simply upload the file and start running it. You might have to twist and tweak a bit, but it's good enough starting point for you, basically to get the idea. And I think you can reuse a lot of code. There are three basic files over here. One is the SharePoint handler. This part of the code is entrusted with the task of downloading the files from remote location and of course deleting them once the processing is done. Then we have CSV handler, again handling the CSV because our AD file is a CSV. An interesting function over here is the handle source record. The task of this function is to get the entry from audit file, complete JSON, and then match that with the email address of a person. For example, in the audit file, if one of the entry was akshay@akshaycall.com and then the complete JSON telling the consumption, it will increase the count of the user, in this case akshay@akshaycall.com, with one because it has found that record. And how does it know is with the help of a dictionary. If the email address of a user already exists in a dictionary, then it will add it, otherwise it will not. So that's pretty much what it is. The crux of the script is program.cs. Basically, I maintain two different dictionary objects. The dictionary object, this one, is the one which will contain my email address as a key and the count of how many times that email address appeared in the audit files. Dictionary Bing again works with the app host property if the entry being found in the audit file, if the app host is one of the entries which was specified in the environment variable of the timer job of the app service, then it will be added to dictionary. If not, for example, if it was Copilot Studio or Copilot Bing or anything else, it will be added to dictionary Bing. The reason I have named it Dictionary Bing is because it's an old implementation about a year ago. At that time, Microsoft Copilot, which used to be Bing, was a free license consumption. So that means it was included in E5 as such, and we didn't have to pay. And dictionary is where M365 consumption is kept. So that's the reason. But basically, if the audit entry in app host contains one of the entries which you have specified in the app service environment variable, then the consumption goes over here, otherwise it goes over here. Licensed user is basically you reading the licensed file, and it says key and when the license was provided. I have removed part of code over here which was dealing with reading the environment variables because of confidentiality reasons. But again, how to read entries from environment variable in app service is pretty straightforward. There are lots of videos online on YouTube. Please have a look. I instantiate my SharePoint online credentials, again standard SPO functionality, and then I download my file. That this is all the files I download. It can be one audit files or multiple audit files, doesn't matter. The program will take into account all of them. Then I'll figure out which one of those are is my licensed file. That is the name. Once it is done, I go down. I read all the licensed users. Otherwise, if the file is not of the licensing file, otherwise, if it is not a licensing file, then that means it's an audit file. Oh, that I handle over here. I send the complete stream, and then CSV handler will take into account managing my dictionary object. So it will figure out if an email address already exists in that dictionary. If yes, then increase the count by one. If no, then add a new email address and then set the count to one, right? Once this whole processing is done, I can go down. Here I will check what is going on. If a user has the license, but he is not part of the dictionary, so that means the user did not appear in the audit log file at all. So that means he did not consume anything. In that case, I would put a link and number of 0. The other condition that can happen is that in audit files, we found a user which was not really licensed. Pretty common because people can use the free version, which is Microsoft Copilot slash web. So those are also entries found in audit log, and that's what I'm handling over here because I really don't care about those entries which are not having the licenses, right? And if the license is there, then I simply add the value to my output file. Once that is done, the this part of the code is pretty straightforward. It's just sending emails and handling doing some cleanup jobs. Output over here would be two files, of course. One is for Bing, other is for record. So that means the paid version as well as the free version, based upon the app host property as such.
So, folks, being a lazy bum as I am, it takes me a lot of enthusiasm to make these videos for you. So, if you would like me to make more, please help my mojo by clicking on like, share, and subscribe.